Going live.
For me, democracy is kind of, if I had to sum it up, it's rule of the competent by the incompetent.
I don't in any way encourage black people to go out and initiate acts of aggression indiscriminately against whites. But I do believe that the black man in the United States and any human being, anywhere, is well within his right to do whatever is necessary by any means necessary to protect his life and property, especially in a country where the federal government itself has proven that it is either unable or unwilling to protect the lives and property of those human beings.
IRS rule is ticking off a lot of taxpayers. Online tax filers will soon have to submit a facial recognition selfie, their social security number, and other sensitive documents to a third-party identification verification company. George Orwell was prescient.
But taxpayer trust in the IRS, well, it's, as you know, extremely low, in part due to scandals, like the targeting of Tea Party groups by the IRS in 2013. This has led some folks to question whether the information gathered by ID.me will be shared with the nation's largest tax collector or even other federal agencies.
Which is, some people are naturally better at things than other people are. And as a result, will amass, whether it's, extra wealth, extra status, extra whatever, not through a process of leeching it from others, but becoming the best version of themselves. So Usain Bolt didn't become the fastest man in the world because he walked around and broke everyone's legs and then beat them at the 100-meter race. He fucking trained his ass off. That is what I consider elite. So in that sense, I think what drives humanity forward and what drives the species forward is the capacity for individuals to become the best versions of themselves, and do that off their own back and become elite. Elitism has been conflated with parasitism. And what we do is we when we think of elite, we think of fucking Christine Lagarde, who hasn't produced or created anything in her life other than stolen from millions of people without their consent.
Welcome to Toxic Airwaves. Got the soundboard right this week, for once. That's dope. How you doing, Skeef?
I'm doing good. I just put the Osho quote in the chat.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I spelled it in the YouTube-approved way also, so should be good.
Yeah. Democracy is government of the retarded for the retarded, or by the retarded for the retarded. Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. Yeah. Well, I titled this, it's good to have Dawn in the chat. We got a lively spaces tonight.
It's true.
But Miss Dawn. Dawn's been hanging out with other people on Monday nights with Ree and those guys, which is cool. But yeah, I titled this Democracy in Open Air Prisons. I think that's a good description.
I would say so. Who originated that? I was trying to remember where I heard that, like framing it like that.
I don't know. I think I
can't remember.
Shane from the Vanu podcast talks about how cities in particular are open air prisons, and to get out of the cities.
Yeah.
But I would say living under government in any form is essentially living in an open air prison.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, I've got some thoughts on Gladstein and Svetsky's debate to start out.
Let's hear it.
So I think Gladstein frames the conversation in a really bad way, and he does it all the time in all of his debates on this topic, where the only options are between democracy and a dictatorship. And he frames the dictatorship something like North Korea, and democracy something like the U.S., and he talks about checks and balances. And it's just kind of this big straw man argument, because I think at the end of the day, what the government's illegitimate, and that's, if I were to debate him, that's where I would start out. It was like, why are we justifying a system? Like his idea is like, let's choose the lesser of evil. And it's kind of like the same argument of like, why you would vote for Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. And I just think that's a terrible argument when you have the option to not vote and you have the option to not participate and you have the option to not have government. So that's starting off first. I think I hate the framing that he has. And then
I think about that all the time.
Oh, you think it's bad framing too?
Well, no, it's not bad. It's just very narrow. You know what I mean? It's like he acts as if there's no, it's like the Bitcoin or communism argument. You know what I mean? Like we say it being cheeky, but ultimately, like that's how we feel. But I see what you're saying, but it seems very narrow, and he strawmans you into to a corner. So you're like, well, let's talk about like the things that could be happening, outside of this.
Yeah.
With him, it's hard. It's always hard for me to figure out how much he's. I don't know. Like it seems like he either is like really believes this stuff and is just like a statist to the core, and he's just one of those people who just can't. I don't know, can't see out of that, or more likely, I think, is that he's just really boxed into a position as far as what exactly he can say and how he can say it because of the nature of his work and who he works for and what he does. That, I don't know, it just seems like because it's just like so much stuff. It's like, okay, he's towing the party line again. It's like, it seems like he's repeating lines that, that are HRF approved versus, I don't know, like actually making a really, really compelling argument. But part of it is I completely agree with what you guys are saying. So I'm obviously super biased.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, it's an easy like straw man to pull apart, and Svetsky, hinted at it a few times is like, look at Western democracy today. Like look at Canada, look at Australia, look at New York City, look at, the vax mandates in general. It's like you can go after one or a billion things and just show that people are not consenting to what the government's doing and they're being forced to do things that they absolutely don't want to do via coercion. And you can go back through the entirety of the United States history, and it's like it just really bothers me, the framing of like, talking about checks and balances, because checks and balances are complete bullshit. Like they exist in like superficial things, but at the end of the day, the checks and balances don't protect. Good to have you in here, AK. They don't protect against, crimes against humanity. Like, checks and balances didn't stop the CIA from funneling drugs into poor inner city communities, and then the FBI and other law enforcement simultaneously launching a war on drugs and putting all these people in prisons. Like checks and balances didn't stop a lot of horrific things in the country, and so to applaud, like, I don't know.
The whole project was completely illegitimate from day one. I mean, a couple of hundred people in one town on the East Coast decided what happened, decided that they could figure out what happens for the entirety of everybody that lives in that area. And, and then onward down to California and everything else. And it's like that's why I don't even engage with these people very much at all, as it's like, I start from the position of the entire thing is completely illegitimate. If you're curious more about why that is, then I'd love to talk to you. If you want to argue about that, then I've got better things to do with my time. But I don't know. But it's like with him though, and I kind of going back to their discussion. It's hard to, I don't know. It's hard to piece out like where people have just certain aspects of their worldview that they just can't look past or something like that, or I don't know, or whether he's kind of towing the party line for where he works. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's a great place to start off. Is that the Constitution is completely illegitimate?
Yeah.
Are you kind of like going off of Spooner's thoughts and no treason?
Yeah, I mean that quote's what 150 years old now. I mean, it's this idea that then that's even like it's easy for us to say, oh well, things were a lot better before the Federal Reserve, and they definitely were, but there were also, it's like, in my opinion, like I think probably the biggest disagreement I would have with someone like Gladstein is I think it's infinitely more important to destroy state power than it is to change who controls that state power. Like it's, I would rather have a dictator with very little power than the freest democracy ever with tons of power over my life, quote unquote free, like everyone can participate. It's just like it's to me, like it's that coercion question. The question of state power is what has to be the center of it.
Yeah. No, that's really good. Because at the end of the day, like arguing about which form of government you have and like which one's better and which one's worse or which politician you have, you're essentially arguing. It's like sitting in a prison and arguing which prison's the best to sit in. It's like, oh, I could be in this shitty state-run prison, or I can go to this nice private run where things are cleaner and safer, and there's a nicer basketball court.
And there's a giant opening in the side with like a moving escalator that just could carry you straight out of the prison, and it's called Bitcoin. Yeah. And everybody's sitting there like, oh, this prison sucks, it's so terrible, the new guard's worse than the old guard, I like the blue ones, and blah blah blah. It's like this giant opening, you just walk out the side if you want to.
Yeah. And the other thing that really irks me about this conversation is when anybody suggests that government somehow protects property rights, and specifically a democracy protects property rights, because in a democracy, people can vote your property rights away, essentially, and it happens over and over again. So that really, really irks me, because the government is the biggest enemy of property rights, and Bitcoin is like the first time in history that we have real property rights, which is super exciting. And the government doesn't protect your Bitcoin, cryptography does. So, yeah. Yeah, I think like going off what you said, like maybe what Gladstein's also doing is he's trying to, water down reality or the truth to appease the masses. Like that Henry guy that was arguing with us that one week from BlockFi.
Yeah. There's just, I think it probably is a function of his employment and what he can say. And it's, yeah, I don't know, or maybe this is truly what he believes, and it just aligns with that. But it's like, either way, it's just hard for me to figure out.
Yeah. It'd be fun to ask him that point blank. I think next thread he has about democracy, I'll ask him, because he sometimes will argue a little bit in his comments. I like the guy a lot, and I have to say that I just strongly disagree with him. I think he's done some of the best writing in Bitcoin, and I really, really appreciate his work. So I don't want to like go out there and just tear him down.
And the fundraising and donations too. It's fantastic.
What?
The all the funds they raise for the core devs.
Oh, okay. Dude, fuck the core devs. It's all about the memers.
The memers. Well, we gotta get a HRF meme fund. Get those meme guys what they're due.
We need a Toxic Airwaves meme fund. Fuck HRF. We're not gonna wait around. Half the donations tonight are going to memers. I can't, if Zorn sends me one sat, I can't split it in half, so it'll be 100% if I get one sat. So yeah, Don says Gladstein is the type of guy that used to shill voting on the blockchain. I can't tell you how many times I've been asked that question.
I put it in the chat, but Gary Kasparov is the chairman of the HRF. That's why. That's the main thing that I'm extremely cautious of, because that guy is shady as hell.
Yeah, can you go into his history a little bit?
So he was the chess champion back in the day, and just since then has been like a media personality. Like he's always, I don't know, like for decades and decades, he's been like the go-to guy of, I don't know, like if you need somebody to come out in the media and kind of trumpet the intelligence community lines and, you know, attack the right people, support the right people. Like he's just always been that guy. And he's one of those people who's like, you know, there's, I don't know of any definitive proof that he's, you know, getting a CIA paycheck or anything like that. But he gives a lot of reason to think that he does.
Is he Russian?
And he's the chairman of the HRF. And it's, other people have pointed out things like who they get donors from. You know, because like they've gotten donors from like Epstein affiliated people and stuff like that. But that part doesn't bother me, because it's like the same fucking, you know, satanic pedos donate to everything. They're always at these galas and stuff like that. And so I don't know, there's just a lot of terrible people that donate to tons of different stuff. So that part unless I, you know, found more, I don't see that as a super legitimate critique. But Gary Kasparov being the chairman, I think, is shady.
Yeah. Is he Russian? He was the Russian chess champion back when?
I'm sure he was initially. I'm not sure when exactly he came to the U.S. or anything like that.
Gotcha.
Or he might have been born here too. I don't know for sure.
Yeah. Not very up to date with my chess history. I've watched a few chess videos or movies or TV shows, but yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Everybody's a spook. Well, speaking of spooky things going on, have you looked at all into the IRS wanting facial recognition to get access to your tax returns?
I saw a little bit about that. That's, I don't know. Makes me, because it's the only reason I have a W-2 right now is just because what I really want to do for work is what I'm doing right now. But it makes me want to get off that whole grid and just say, fuck it.
Yeah, I think you can still file by mail, right? That's the way around it.
But like, you just like having, if you have and use a social security number, it's like they're tracking you. And so it's a gigantic step to get out from under that. Like you pretty much have to have, like your stats in order.
Yeah. And you could go about becoming an independent contractor too, and that makes it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, that's what I used to do before what I do. And I did that for a few years. That was a lot better than being an employee.
Yeah. I mean, stuff like that really cracks me up, because it seems like they're almost shooting themselves in the foot, because there's going to be a lot of people that can't figure it out.
The facial recognition. I don't know. I might file it by mail. But it's like all that stuff. Like I tweeted it out last November when I came back, but I came back from Mexico and didn't show my passport once getting into the country. And they had me, you know, they like when you go in, they have you look at this thing, and which I'm assuming is facial recognition. And so apparently whatever that was, they were able to get enough that they needed, that they didn't touch my passport. Like it stayed in my front pocket the whole time I went through. They didn't, I kept thinking they were going to ask me, there's going to be another station or something. And then I saw McDonald's. I was like, oh, I guess I'm through. All right.
That's funny. Yeah, every time I've gone down through the border, they've been pretty intense with me. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like a lot of that stuff, though, is just, it's ultimately like a show. It's pretty easy to walk back and forth across the Mexican border. In certain areas out near us. Not that I've done
huge chunks of Arizona. You could.
Yeah. I mean, you see it on the news. People do it all the time. But Yeah, I mean, it is like, I feel like TSA is the exact same way, where they just do it for show. Because this is like, you know, the whole thing with the state is like this illusion of that they're in control and power. They show force more so to, you know, scare you into submission than really being able to actually monitor everybody. And it's just like so apparent with TSA. I mean, you just hear the stories, like these guys are just complete morons, and have no idea what they're doing, but they bark at you and pat you down and grope you to make you afraid. But yeah, Lurk says the IRS shit is terrifying. Same with the Walmart stuff in Canada.
I didn't hear about the Walmart stuff in Canada either.
Said
I guess Francis tweeted about it.
I'll look that up real quick. Yeah, but kind of going off the conversation that we had last week, I mean, like all the stuff with I don't know which one his real account is. I follow him too, it's Francis's. Going off the stuff that we were talking about last week.
He said they're segregating unvax and vax in this cage, and then the unvax has a worker follow them around while they shop sheets. It's like stuff like that. It's like how long can you? I mean, I guess it's Walmart. They've got unlimited government money, but I just wonder how long these businesses can stay around doing this silly stuff.
I would imagine probably a while.
Like, can you imagine what their labor costs are like versus 3 years ago? Like inflation plus they have to have all these extra people to do all this stupid shit.
Well, and the funny thing about Walmart workers too is they don't do anything.
Yeah.
They're some of the most useless workers too. Like they're obviously not worried about having productive workers in any way. But yeah, they were doing stuff like that in Germany, I think. Well, that's what governments love to do best, is put people in cages. So you can be in a cage in Walmart now in Canada. And I would say Walmart's pretty much married to the government, so they count as government. But yeah, that's fantastic. But yeah, going off of what we were talking about last week, as far as the surveillance and stuff, I mean, it's just becoming more like in your face, but the surveillance has already been here for a very, very long time. Like, it's safe to assume that all of our text messages and emails are monitored. All of our financial transactions are monitored. So that's not new. Gosh. Are you hearing, do I have a little bit of mic feedback?
I hear this ring a little bit in the microphone. It's like someone's banging the microphone stand or something.
Gotcha. Talk for a second. I'm going to try and fix it.
It just sounds like y'all are recording from the bathroom all the time. Just really shitty.
Stop fucking lying! God fucking damn it! I'm getting pissed now.
We had complaints about how shitty your sound was a couple weeks ago.
Who?
Fancy, how's North Texas how's Texas treating y'all?
It's been great. It's been really great. It's like living
Nice.
In a normal place. It's really awesome.
Awesome.
So for thank you, AK. AK just tagged me in. Gosh, I don't know why I'm getting that feedback. That's so obnoxious.
Oh, I didn't hear it that time.
Oh, I hear it in my mic. Okay, it's kind of there. Maybe.
I am recording from the bathroom, Clancy. Just heads up, taking a bath.
You have your mic set up over your bathtub?
Yeah. I've got the whole. I watch TV in there, the whole thing. It's pretty great.
You're like the guy in the Truman Show. He just sits in his bathtub and watches the Truman Show.
I have not seen that movie, but it sounds like it. I just pray nothing falls in the water, none of the electronics.
Okay, so
You have to watch that movie.
So AK just tagged me. So these plexiglass prisons inside the Quebec Walmarts are where they confine the unvaccinated while they wait for a security escort, which will follow them around to make sure they aren't putting any non-pharmaceutical items in their carts.
Put it in the net.
I had a friend who drove into and out of Canada recently, and they said that going in, the Canadian border guards or whatever had like full on hazmat suit. Like they said they looked like astronaut suits, and they had a tube coming out the back of the head for like, you know, presumably filtered air or whatever. But the whole thing was completely self-contained. They wouldn't like process you until everyone in the car, including people in the very, very back seat, had masks on. Like he said, it was so much worse than even you'd expect. It was so stupid. But and then coming back, you know, it's like, you know, they don't give a shit. But
it's amazing.
I was amazed. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how long they keep this going for. And I think one of the problems that they're going to run into is that people can only live in fear, like extreme fear, for so long. And I think people are hitting their limit on that and are just tired. Like they'd rather, you know, go out and take the chance of dying than live in their houses terrified.
I just try to concern myself with them as little as possible. And I don't know. It's like people don't believe me when I tell them, but it's like my kids barely know what COVID is. Like they know, I mean, obviously they see people in masks when they go outside, but it's like, you know, we make fun of those people a little bit here and there and have a good time. But they barely know what's going on.
That's
we were
awesome.
at a jiu-jitsu competition this weekend with like, I don't know, 400 or 500 people in not that big of a gym, and you know, 7 masks in the whole place, something like that. That's seeing stuff like that is super cool. So there's plenty of people out there that are sensible.
Yeah, no, there are tons of people out there. I think, like, yeah, just going back to people are over it for the most part. But yeah, the digital IDs and stuff will get worse, and I just think, like, it's time to start preparing, you know, pretty seriously. If you haven't stocked up on food and ammo yet, you're probably about 6 months late to when you should have been stocking up on food and ammo, but there's still time.
And one other question, totally other topic. What do you, so it's like, something that's come up a lot recently is that these new gen miners are coming in at like 30 million sats, which is like, it's entirely possible that they might never ROI, or, you know, Ephesians, one of the people who's been pushing this. And it's something I've, you know, like, I don't know, like I had a couple that I bought around back when they're around 20 million and felt pretty good about that. And they've been online for a little bit, but it's like, to buy it now at 30 million seems insane, just based on me playing with the brains calculator for the last 6 months to a year or something like that. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you think about that. Like what you think about like where the prices for those are going potentially.
Oh, prices are definitely going down. If like they've come down this week, in particular, and Don, I have not had luck with the new S19 firmware, but I'm going to get that sorted out tomorrow. I'll message you about it. I'm taking my miner into Kaboom Racks to get it all sorted. But yeah, I mean, it just depends on the price of Bitcoin, because if it stays where it's at right now or it goes down, the prices of miners are going to have to go down for sure. But yeah, right now is like an incredibly stupid time to buy a miner. And you know, from what I've learned over the last few months of working in the industry is these larger companies in the mining space, they always have an edge, and they calculate things very, very differently than the average person because they get their hands on firmware years or at least 6 months before everybody else does. They have access to, you know, all of these tools, so they're going to be running these machines at much higher efficiencies and hash rates. So like, you know, I'm running 100 terahash S19 at 100 terahash, and one of these bigger companies out there is probably running the same machine in immersion at 170 right now. And
they probably paid 5 million sats for it.
Yeah, and they paid a lot less. So, yeah. So I mean, it'd be interesting to see what happens with these bigger companies if they continue to buy up all the S19s, because that would keep the price higher. But from where I see things happen, right? Don says, just pop the SD with Kaboom firmware. Oh, you got access to brains. Interesting. I have to check. Oh.
Yeah. And I bring it up mostly because there was, like, I don't know, like I said, I'm locked out of my Twitter right now, but I still lurk around and stuff. And I was just reading through the comments, especially on some of the discussions people were having on it. And then there were a lot of people who clearly had never even considered the idea that a miner might not ROI in sats. Like, they were just like, I was just reading these comments and like, you know, these are people that talk about like buying miners, owning miners, running miners, you know, like, oh, I bought this. And it's like, you go through, I'm looking at their history, looking at what else they do, all this different stuff. And it's just like, that was just I'd never, like, because to me, you know, if I'm buying one of these, that's the number one concern. Am I going to ROI in sats and how quickly? Like, that's all that matters. That's it. And I don't know. I was just blown away. There are a lot of people that clearly had never considered that. Or, you know, like someone like Ephesians asks, like, how long, like if you buy a new gen at 30 million sats, how long would you take to expect it to ROI? And there's people saying like 12 months, like 18 months, 24 months. Like, it's like, with firmware, free power, everything, that's literally impossible.
Yeah, it would take like 60 months if difficulty stayed the same right now at 30 million sats.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, while at Tucson power, it would take forever, and there's no way that difficulty will continue. I mean, the real question is, what's going to happen with difficulty? Because that
could explode. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, we had the last difficulty adjustment, I think, was like 10% or 9%. It was something massive.
Well, the whole chip shortage thesis has always been like solid game theory, you know, like, I don't know, to me, pretty reasonable, but it was never an evidence-based thing ever. And that's what a lot of people bought a lot of miners based on the chip shortage thesis. So I don't know. I hope it works out.
Yeah. I don't
know. Still might. Like, China invades Taiwan. Everybody that owns a miner today is rich as fuck.
Well, and
one silver lining.
Then there's a million other factors of, as far as, like, you know, what we watched happen in Kazakhstan could ripple into other areas, and it seems like, you know, the governments of the world are not too happy about Bitcoin mining. It's a matter of time before they try and crack down, and that might happen kind of simultaneously. So, I mean, but if you're going out like trying to make calculations banking on a Black Swan event happening, that's probably a bad idea. So,
in general, you should try to predict as many black swans as possible.
You should prepare for them.
Yeah,
But banking on it.
Yeah. And the whole idea of predicting a black swan is nonsensical.
Yeah.
Defies the term.
Yeah. It's like, I'm going to be the Michael Burry of Bitcoin mining. I'm going to make these massive calculations. I don't know. You could be right if you go about doing that, but
You heard about that pool called CK Pool or something like that? I forget. I just saw it in a Telegram chat today, but I guess pointing some of your hash power at it, it's like, my understanding is it gives you like 100 times better odds than solo mining. And so it's like almost solo mining, but not quite. So, because I guess apparently with the S9, you can point different hash boards at different pools. Mm-hmm. And so I talked to somebody who had one hash board pointed at that CK pool, just as like a lottery ticket. I haven't looked into how exactly it works, but I thought it was funny.
That's a fun idea.
So it's like, because like the odds of solo mining is just astronomical dog shit. And so this pool, your odds of hitting a block is 100 times better than that astronomical dog shit.
I guess there was a guy that hit a block with a USB stick.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Like half a terahash. Like 500 gigahash or something insane. I would be honestly, it's probably lower than that. I'd be surprised if a USB stick got that high, but
Lurk is saying it was a 16 terahash USB stick. That seems really high for a USB stick. I don't know anything about those USB ones.
That thing must be huge, because that's like a S9 running at 1300 watts, 1400 watts. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, there's no way a USB stick is 16 terahash.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Your
I didn't want to call Lara a fucking liar to his face, though.
I mean, yeah, it's a big USB stick. Yeah, your computer's power supply couldn't handle that. Unless it's like, I don't know.
Oh, it sounds like he had several. So 16 terahash of USB sticks. So maybe like 32 of them or something like that.
Gosh, they sell those on Amazon.
Oh, and the pricing on it is horrible. It's like, I think like for the price of two or three of them, you could get an S9, which is like 10, 20 times more powerful.
So Amazon actually has real Bitcoin miners on there now.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. I want to find this thing.
I know which group it was in. I'll post it in our Telegram.
$70. Oh, okay. I see how they do it. So, yeah, you could get away with that because the USB port is powered itself. It's not pulling off your computer. Durr.
I just put the eBay for that USB miner in the Telegram.
It doesn't even say on these ones on Amazon what the hash rate is. It just says the power consumption. Here's an S9 for $920 on Amazon. That's super funny. 3 used options for $700. But yeah, I don't know. Miner prices are going to come down as if Bitcoin.
Do you think they'll get back towards like 20 million sats or so where they were before?
I don't know. It's going to take a little bit to do that. Like the price, it just depends on how low the Bitcoin price stays or goes, because the miner prices are going to lag as long as people are willing to buy it. Like, because you have to think, like, a lot of these guys that are selling the miners, like Kaboom, paid for the miners at a certain level, and they don't want to sell them for a loss. Like, they're going to try. They're going to try and sell them for at least a little bit above what they paid, and they might have to, cut it pretty close to even. But,
for them to break even in sats. Yeah.
Man, Ronan had a pretty funny story about Scott Offred.
What was it?
So Scott's website, I don't know if it was like Scott who did it. I don't think it was, but Scott's website double charged him for a ticket.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then it was just a total shit show for him to try and get set up with a hotel. So I guess Ronan's not going to the conference. That's not happening.
Yeah.
I heard Don's going to Scott's conference though.
I heard Don was helping organize it. That was really nice of him. He kind of volunteering to help out the community. Yeah. It's good.
Don helped get Dennis Porter booked for it. If there's anybody I ever wanted to listen to on Bitcoin mining, it was probably Dennis Porter.
Yeah, I like listening to Mike Alfred talk about Bitcoin mining too, because it's like, you usually, like, you'll be in a discussion, like really learning a lot about Bitcoin mining, and then he'll divert it to Bitcoin mining stocks, which I would agree with him are far better place to put money than Bitcoin miners themselves. Definitely the companies.
Yeah. I would have said that Bitcoin mining stocks would have been incredibly risky a few months ago, but now that Sat Center is out there to really protect them from a regulatory standpoint, they're good.
Good.
Have you followed anything of what Sat Center's up to?
I have not. Good water bottles though. It's a very, very high quality metal water bottle.
I know. I already lost mine. It was a nice water bottle. I can't hold on to things. I lose everything. I don't know. I might find it. Yeah.
Do you have anything else for this week?
I got the sponsors.
Oh, yeah.
Let me play those real quick.
Okay.
And we got people in spaces we could go to, too. I want to give a big shout out to our first sponsor, Dirtbags Bar. Dirtbags Bar has been and always will be the best place for you to meet your future ex-wife. And that being said, Dirtbags Bar is happy to announce this expansion into a new market of helping married women find boyfriends after their husbands lost all their money shitcoin trading recently. They want you to know that just because your husband's a complete moron and lost all your family's life savings doesn't mean that you have to be lonely. Check out Dirtbags Bar in Tucson, Arizona. I want to welcome back one of our favorite sponsors, the World Economic Forum. They wanted to announce that they're starting a new initiative by selling NFTs to raise funds for climate change and gender equality. They wanted to show people that even as the modern iteration of the Nazi Party, they can be woke and hip. So if you want to end gender equality and climate change, make sure to use promo code Synthetic Wombs to buy these NFTs. Enough of our sponsors. Let's get back to the show. Synthetic Wombs. I guess we could talk about that. Clancy, what are your thoughts on synthetic wombs?
I don't think she's on.
She's in Spaces, but she dropped down to a listener. There was a lot of uproar about that. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, just it's more of the same transhumanism stuff. I see people promote stuff like that. I'm like, I could not have less in
Synthetic
common
what?
with
My thoughts on what?
synthetic wombs, where they like grow babies in jars, and that it was promoted as a way to promote gender equality and I don't know, something women can be in a cubicle more if we have synthetic wombs, and that's a good thing, is the argument as far as I can tell.
I don't know this. I need to study on this.
No, I would suggest skipping over this one. It's depressing and more of the same transhumanism bullshit.
Well, it started because Vitalik tweeted about it.
What? How did I miss this? What the fuck are y'all talking about?
Yeah, I don't know how you missed it because it was kind of a big deal a couple days ago.
I've been busy.
Vitalik's such a great human being. But yeah, it is interesting to see. I wonder which chain that the WEF's gonna launch their NFTs on. Don said, first time I heard Mike Alfred talk, he started explaining how virgin Bitcoins are more desirable than others. Yeah, that's a spook move. How is a womb synthetic? So the whole point of it is for women not to actually carry the baby. Like the idea of it is like Skeef said, to make sure that the woman doesn't miss work.
Yeah. Gotta keep you productive.
Yeah, that's tax money that is not getting paid.
Yeah, I think it's gotta get really, really bad before the pendulum swings the other direction.
Yeah, I think we've got a ways to go.
How long? Like I'm just like, when is it going to burst? When is all of it going to burst?
I don't know. I mean, it's just
it bursted in 2008.
Yeah, or 2001.
Well, I'm talking about
the financial.
I was talking about the Bitcoin white paper.
Oh, I got you.
The game's over. Like, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's our choice if we want to like participate in this society anymore. Like you can really like insulate yourself from it and limit these maniacs' power and control in your lives. And like, it's gonna be uncomfortable and not as, you know, convenient as just like being able to go to the grocery store and do like all the normal stuff. But you can live pretty free. I mean, I think, yeah, the transhumanism stuff is creepy as shit.
Yeah. I do not recommend doing this, but I read Yuval Noah Harari's books, which is all that shit. He had one called like, he wrote Sapiens, like the evolution, and then Homo Deus, and I think there was one more, but those are the two I remember. But it's just like, he's like the World Economic Forum's guy. Like he presents at Davos, like all that kind of stuff about, yeah, if you search his name in WF, there's all kinds of videos.
Yeah, I forgot the lady's name, but I got in a argument with her. Got to meet her in person and argue with her in person about it for a little bit. I didn't really argue too much, but she's got a channel where she covers a lot of the transhumanism stuff called Wrench in the Gears. But she hates Bitcoin because she thinks Bitcoin's a part of all that stuff.
Yeah. That's what Sam Tripoli, I think, is warming up to it. he for the longest time, he was a CIA created Bitcoin guy. Or not for the longest time. He's had a bunch of different views, but he, at least recently, I know Clancy, I know you listen to him a lot, more than I do even, but anyway, he had a thing recently where he was talking about how he thinks that even if it was created by the government, like the internet, it got out of their control. And so maybe it is something that can be used. And then one of the guys on his show, Johnny, at least I think he also shitcoins some, but he at least understands Bitcoin a little better.
Yeah. So coming around, they're orange pilling themselves slowly.
Yeah, I mean,
he's the one I really want to see, like, really get it. Like, I'd love to see him sit down with Marty Bent or something like that.
Yes, because recently he did the whole thing where he compared it to the internet, right? Like he had the realization that the CIA fucking created the internet, and because of the internet, we're able to communicate with each other. So it's like it got out of hand. So he's like having this light bulb go off on maybe that's what's happening with Bitcoin.
Yeah, I remember that episode. I've since, like, lately I've been listening to probably 80-90% of his episodes, and I've been going back through his history like crazy. I don't know, like 3 months ago I started going on benders with his podcast, and I love it. Max is here. Max, come up on the stage.
Yo, what's up, guys? How's everybody doing, huh?
Doing pretty good. How are things treating you?
What's up, Max? In the house.
How is each and every one of your 13 meetups going?
Honestly, they're rocking and rolling. It's a little tough with the snow, but we're pushing through. It's going great. The Garden of Eden is going very strong. I apologize. I've been away from the meetups and Twitter and Telegram and stuff, but you're going to see a lot of cool shit. I've been in build mode, so I miss you guys so much. I miss you guys.
Yeah, we missed you too, man. I DM'd you because I was like, the last few weeks, I was like, where's Max been?
I know everybody's probably saying that, so don't worry, I'm alive and well. Building.
Awesome.
We're here.
We're excited to see what you're building whenever it comes out.
And we haven't fucking sold. Fuck these people that are selling. What's wrong with these people?
Yeah, pussies.
I don't know.
Goodness gracious.
Bring it on. Let him sell.
Yeah, fun. So what's the topic? Hit me with the main topic. What's the
fuck democracy.
Yeah. The best of the worst governments, right?
And the good old fashioned Osho quote: "Democracy is government of the people, by the people, for the people, but the people are retarded."
Exactly.
Government of the retarded, by the retarded, and for the retarded.
I was talking to somebody we all know earlier today, and it is nice to see, at the very least, we talked about it before here, but if people are waking up to, like, all right, inflation is real, it's here, we got to do something about it. So we haven't had that, I don't think, in any of these prior traditional business cycles. But yeah, 100% agree. These no corners don't understand.
Still a super cycle.
You think?
Oh yeah, definitely a super cycle.
It doesn't feel like it. Oh man, it feels like we're kind of coiling up for whatever the next either halving or the next buy or what. Yeah. I don't know.
My basic kind of like contention for the next few years, which obviously doesn't have a price prediction or anything like that, is just that there's like if we sat there and thought it out and wrote it all down, we could probably come up with at least 100, or a few hundred like critical things that if they broke in favor of Bitcoin and what we're trying to do, it would just like launch things into the stratosphere and get absolutely fucking insane. And it's like, if one of those 100 things happens, then, that's the super. So that's like my basic super cycle contention. When I see Ephesians in the chat, hell yeah, there's hundreds and hundreds of different things that we could identify that could potentially cause a super cycle to really kick off, and all we need is one of them. But.
Here, I've got the Osho clip. I just wanted to play it real quick.
Yeah.
Because democracy basically means government
He pauses so long.
by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
It gets me every time.
And there's a version where he says the whole thing, and then he goes and so it's the government of the retarded by the retarded for the retarded.
Whenever I use that, I have to cut out the pauses because he just pauses so long.
He's got that cult leader eye contact too.
It would have been interesting to see how that worked out and how like Waco would have worked out if they hadn't been screwed
Murdering children.
Are you talking about the ATF? Yeah.
Waco.
Yeah.
They burned a bunch of kids.
Yeah. Yeah, if they hadn't gone in and screwed with them.
Ephesians, if you're so inclined, join Spaces and tell us all the reasons you think there's going to be a super cycle.
I don't know. I've just like, I don't really care about the price. And part of that is I choose not to because I just don't think it's like something that I just get exhausted from focusing on it. And it's not like I need the price of Bitcoin to be $1 million today for me to live a sovereign life. So, but I don't disagree with you as far as like we very well could potentially be in the super cycle right now.
I do like that price is such a simple number, a simple answer to, a massive, infinite complex of inputs that nobody can ever, exactly figure out and pinpoint.
Except for Will Clemente.
Exactly, yes, except for Will. but at least, yeah, it's still very, at least to me, it's tough to see when the can, I just said it to somebody, kicking the can down the road. Eventually, we're going to be breaking our toes, and cause it's going to get so heavy and stuff. When is it going to? I don't know. When is it going to stop? I guess when people stop believing, But they're doing a pretty good job on selling the narrative, right? Although the narrative for just general life of COVID stuff or whatever else is definitely dwindling for sure. You can see it just on the media's comments and Supreme Court ruling, blah blah blah, all that stuff. But it is, we're very lucky here in the States, for that. Except Canada and Australia. God, I pray for you guys. But I think it was going to last a lot longer. But I think we have light at the end of the tunnel because a lot of people are still pushing back, and it's definitely cratering for them. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. But to be determined.
Ephesians, when super cycle?
Well, I feel it in my balls, so it's happening.
Let's go.
Last time I checked the chart, we were still on track for 800K by Valentine's Day. So I'm thinking that one's looking pretty good.
This is confirmed. I mean, that's not related to super cycle. That's just a Valentine's Day gift from God to us. But I can confirm both super cycle and 800K by Valentine's Day. I have consulted with my balls, and they confirm it.
I got the money.
Yeah. I consulted Plan B's chart.
Plan B
Did you see?
Crab price action is nothing but a black swan, and it will pass.
The balls to go on Breedlove's program with the title Bitcoin Price Suppression. I don't know. I laughed so hard. I said the title, Plan B and Breedlove.
I mean, that's been the shitcoiner
price suppression.
That's been like the shitcoiner TA playbook for a very long time is like anytime they predict the price goes up and it doesn't, they blame the whales for price suppressing. So that's a classic that Plan B pulled.
I mean, this might be an unpopular opinion in this space, but I actually do buy the price suppression narrative. Like, I really do think that, like, there are lots of really big corporate entities that are doing what they can to drive the price down and, like, scoop up stats from plebs. I do think that's real. Like, as much as, like, the people who say this tend to be people who suck, like, you know, the expression, like, a broken clock is right twice a day. Like, I do think that they're actually right about that one. Like, maybe it's by accident that they're right about that one, but I do think that they're right about that one.
Sure.
There's definitely games they can play with, like the futures ETF and stuff like that. That I would say virtually is certain.
Well, you know, and Sailor
and exchanges know everyone's liquidation point. That's another known fact.
And Sailor, you know, talked about it the way that he put in buy orders too over time, small amounts as to not, you know, screw the price. So, I mean, just the fact that he stated that is a good point.
But it's like they can do the math, you know, and say, hey, if we sell $100 million worth of Bitcoin at this time, we can expect to collect this much on liquidations that result from it, you know. And if one number is bigger than the other number, then they probably go for it.
Yeah. Somebody just sent, or a little bit ago, sent me 5,528 sats. So whoever sent that, half of that's going to the meme developers in the Bitcoin space.
Yeah. Ephesians and Max, I think it was before you guys joined, but we committed to half of the proceeds of this episode. We're tired of Bitcoin core developers getting so much funding. We think funds need to go to meme developers. So that's where half of the funds of the show is going to go to.
Yeah. I'll send you guys 69 sats. Have fun splitting that in half. I like it.
Ty goes to the meme developers.
Yep. Yeah, we have to take care of our meme developers. Like the greedy devs, my gosh, they're just
support open source Photoshop developers.
Yeah.
Hey, they protect the narrative, right? You know, developers protect the code base. The meme lords protect the narrative. So I'm all on board.
All right.
Did anybody watch that stupid Ben Armstrong video?
Is that the fat guy talking about proof of stake?
I don't even know what he talked about. I just saw the title.
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
He just said Bitcoin had to change. That I didn't even watch it. I just saw people tweeting.
Oh yeah. He's like he just presented a completely foregone conclusion that proof of work mining does not work and Bitcoin will transition to proof of stake. And then he went on to talk about all the implications of that. And I was like, you lost me at step 0, buddy.
Hey, Ephesians. I'm curious why. What your thoughts are on buying a new gen miner right now?
He's loading up on him. He said 35 million sats is a good deal. That's what he told me.
Actually, I mean, I pay. On a serious note, yeah, I think that new gen miners are crazy overpriced. I think that unfortunately, a lot of people who have kind of aped into mining, and I'm not talking about home miners. Like, I'm not talking about somebody who bought like one S19. But like, you know, I got a bunch of boys who have bought like a bunch of new gen ASICs, and I don't think most of them, I'm not speaking for all of them, but I think most of them have really not done the necessary due diligence. And I think it's frankly a lot more likely that they never ROI than it is that they profit anytime soon. Like I've talked to people, like I made a couple of posts about it yesterday, and I mean, people were literally in my comments saying, you know, they expect an S19 to ROI in a year, which is only possible if you genuinely don't understand how mining works. And I mean, that's like scary to me. Like for my homies, like I don't want you guys to lose that. Like this is one of the reasons why I ate so hard into S9 is because like you know, I'm fairly normal as far as like social skills go, but like I have like a pretty strong autism side, especially when it comes to like finance related numbers. And I mean, I've probably literally spent like 1,000 hours over the course of the last year just thinking about nothing but how to ROI with mining. And my conclusion is, assuming you have reasonably priced power, S9s are just the best investment in the business, and it's not even close. Like, it's just not even close. And a lot of people don't get this. A lot of people think, oh, well, the new gens are more efficient and they're newer, therefore they're better, and that's why they're more expensive. I mean, frankly, it's just wrong. And I'm not like some fucking genius or anything, but I'm autistic enough to spend enough time obsessing over these fucking numbers to realize that S9s are just a better deal. Now, there are exceptions, right? If you have like really expensive power, like if your power rate is like, 10 or 15 cents or something, well then, yeah, I mean, an S19 is going to be a better move for you. But I mean, if that's your power rate, unless you're coming to it from the perspective that you're down to lose a certain percentage of your stack in exchange for basically swapping your stack out for non-KYC like mine stack, which that's fair. Like if that's the calculation that you're making, then dope, right? Then I could wrap my head around that. But if you're thinking that you're going to buy an S19 for 35 to 40 million sats and you're going to ROI in a year or two, you're smoking crack. Like the only way that would happen is if the network just like doesn't grow at all. Which, if that's your perspective, then I don't even understand where your head's at. Like you have to be bearish on Bitcoin to think that. And also, if you're bearish on Bitcoin, you shouldn't be mining, because if you're a Bitcoin bear, like mining does not make sense. Like a big part of the reason why mining makes sense to me is because I'm bullish as fuck. Like I said, we're going to 800K by Valentine's Day. My balls feel it. Like I'm super fucking bullish on Bitcoin, and that's a big part of the calculation of why mining makes sense to me. If you're a Bitcoin bear, mining makes absolutely no sense. And the only way that you can think that the network is not going to grow tremendously is if you're a Bitcoin bear. So, like, no matter how you spin it, these new gens are a bad investment at these prices. I mean, I think that they're overpriced by roughly 100%. I mean, really, I don't think an S19 is worth any more than roughly half of what they're going for. And I think a lot of people are going to get wrecked. I mean, they'll still end up with stats. It's not like they're not going to have any stats, but, I think a lot of people are going to lose, I don't know, 15%, 20% of the stats that they spent on their new gens. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I could buy fucking S9s right now for fucking 700 to 800,000 stats, and I could have that back reliably after paying my power bill in a year, reliably. And that's assuming that the network grows by 100%, which I think most of these people don't even think that's possible. Most of the people I talk to literally think it's not possible we're going to go past 300 exahash this year, which is retarded. It is almost certainly going to go 300 exahash. It's almost certainly going to go past 400 exahash. And people are going to get wrecked because they don't understand this stuff. And I'll admit, I didn't understand this stuff for the first week that I was thinking about mining. But I just obsessed over these numbers and realized, oh shit, I'm retarded. Of course it's going to grow that much. It's fucking Bitcoin. So, my case in a nutshell is if you're thinking about mining, make sure you have a decent price power rate. If you're paying over 8 cents for your power, you probably shouldn't mine at all. And if you have under 8 cent power, you should be buying S9 for a million reasons. I mean, it's lower risk because the S9 is, depending on what you pay for it, $300 to $600. And I don't think you should pay $600 for an S9 right now, unless the price of Bitcoin goes up substantially. I don't think you should pay more than max 1.5 million sats for an S9. And frankly, I think you should aim for 1 million. And if you're buying a bunch of them, you can aim for 700, 800,000. But if you're buying a handful of S9s, 5 to 20 or something like that, you shouldn't really be willing to pay more than 1 million sats per unit. And you could reliably make that back by the end of the year if you plug them in ASAP. An S19 at 35 million sats, roughly speaking, I don't think you're going to ROI for 5 years, and it's quite possible that you're never going to ROI. It just depends on how much Bitcoin goes. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's also if you're a fucking fiat maxi and you're thinking, oh well, I'm gonna buy a fucking $12,000 S19 and I'm gonna make back fucking 300 grand, then you're right, you will. In dollar terms, you're certainly gonna profit with an S19. There's no doubt about that. But in actual satoshis, short of something really fucked up happening to the hash rate, the likelihood of that happening is, I don't know, sub 40%, probably sub 20, frankly. I mean, it's really, really unlikely. There's no way you're going to break even by the fucking halvening. And then when the halvening comes around, the fucking block reward gets cut in half. So, this is a lesson that I think a lot of people need to learn. And, I mean, maybe I got lucky in a sense because I lost like fucking 5 Bitcoin cloud mining like fucking retard a couple of years ago. So I kind of sort of went down the mining rabbit hole a little bit and like got just absolutely fucking wrecked. And I think I got like a good sense of like just how fucking ruthless the mining game is. So like I'm extremely skeptical about it now, and I think that served me well. But I think a lot of people haven't gotten burned, and if you haven't gotten burned, you don't know the time,
Yeah. Well, I think it's like I was talking to you about earlier today. It's like this idea of like there's just a lot of people who have clearly never evaluated an investment before. Like you start like people who don't have a deep understanding of what exactly ROI is and how you calculate that. That it's not just two numbers on top of each other compared to this other number. Like there's a lot to think about, and people are like, oh, I put this into my calculator for difficulty, blah blah blah, and it's like you have absolutely no idea what difficulty is going to do, with any degree of precision. And that's what I don't know. Like I don't know a lot about mining, but I'm reasonably good with like the investment side of stuff and evaluating those kinds of things and running numbers and that those kinds of things is something I had done before Bitcoin. And it was just that, I don't know, it caught me off guard, like especially reading, as I messaged you about that one tweet, is reading all the comments under there, people saying, oh, I'm gonna ROI in 18 months, I'm gonna ROI in 24 months, I'm gonna ROI in 12 months, I'm gonna, it's just like this. Yeah, that's like I said, I'm way more green than most of the people on mining, and I was looking at that like, what the fuck are these people talking about?
Yeah, they're smoking crack. Like, and you know what? You're gonna have to get burned to learn your lesson. Like that really is just kind of how it goes. Like if you've already, it's not too late, because one thing probably could presumably do is benefit off of the greater pool and just fucking sell your ASICs to someone else. But the problem is that these prices, even noobs, are like, no, I'm not going to buy an S19 at 37 million sats, or I'm not going to buy a fucking S9 at 2 million sats. Like, even fucking retards recognize this. So I think a lot of people are in a situation where I think they're probably considering selling all their miners, and they're realizing that they can't. And that fucking sucks. And this is why you need to like, if you're mining, if anybody's listening who's like considering mining or is mining and is new to it, like, you should just operate under the assumption that the Bitcoin network is going to grow by 100% every single year. If it doesn't, don't. Because if you do the math, assuming that the network grows by 100% a year, and you're still prepared to mine with those numbers, and it doesn't, then you're just going to make extra money. But if you do your projections, assuming the network is going to grow by 25%, 30%, 40% a year, and it grows by 100, you're fucked. You're just absolutely fucked. And that's the situation I don't want to see my homies in.
Yeah, you're speaking, truth to power there. You're hitting it perfectly on the head. People are not putting together the numbers. I don't know if I said on the show here, I know on my other shows, especially if people have paid, I like how you're pricing it in sats. If you're paying sats for that miner, Skeef, I understand, there's no difference between sats and dollars, but if your whole goal is to get, dollars or sats, why should you, spend your sats to go get non-KYC sats or something? Fine, but yeah, you're spitting truth to power, and a lot of people are not willing to look themselves in the mirror and say, I either need to unplug because I'm losing money, or I'm sitting on a bag, right? I can't sell these ASICs, so on and so forth. So yeah, you should do some type of write up or something, and kind of do a little siren call for everybody, just to help them out, I guess. So yeah, you're hitting it right on the head.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. So Don's predicting cheap miners, and he also says he doesn't think that it goes up above 400 this year.
Well, it's not guaranteed that it's going to go over 400, but I think the likelihood that it doesn't go over 300 is nearly zero.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a bunch of people like Denver, for example, Adam. like Denver's been like saying for a long time, like very publicly on Twitter, and he's a friend of mine, but like he's got a very big platform. A lot of people know him on Twitter, and I think a lot of people look at him as like a quasi expert in the space. And he's going around saying like, oh, there's fucking no shot that we're gonna go over 250 exahash. And I fucking, I've heard fucking Marty and Matt say nearly the same thing. And I think that they're being reckless, man. I think that especially like if you're a big account on here, if you have fucking 15, 20, 50,000 followers on here, you gotta realize a lot of people who are following you are fucking half retarded. And if you're going around saying shit like, oh, like fat chance the network crosses 250 exahash in fucking 2022. Like a lot of people are going to make financial decisions based on that. And I know that that's not really like your problem, but like, I don't know. I feel like we should still kind of try to look out for each other. And I think a lot of people are just going to get absolutely reckless with these people.
Yeah. I was arguing with Neil about why I think it's for sure going to go above 300 exahash.
Yeah. I mean, Neil's a good example. Like, I love the guy to death, and he's definitely smart, and he does all right for himself. But I mean, he was just posting on fucking Twitter the other day that for the last fucking year he's been fucking mining like I don't know how many fucking petahash, and he didn't even know his own power rate. He was paying like 50% more for his electricity than he even realized. Like, dude, like, and you're going around here fucking telling people to ape into miners, like, and you don't even have your own fucking house in order. Like, come on.
What a funny guy.
One of the groups, there's a couple miners. I really like how he laid out his numbers. He's a miner in Canada. He runs GPUs because he doesn't have the facility for ASICs, but he has a fuck ton of GPUs. He estimates the Bitcoin. So again, you're 100%, per annum hash rate growth is damn near, right on target. His number is like 60%. I'm sorry, 4% per month is hash rate growth typically, which compounded, onto itself is puts you about that 60+%, growth every single year. So, and I just did my numbers. I don't know where we're at right this very second. What are we at? 175, 180 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So if you run it up 4% a month, 60% for this year, you're going to be at 288 exahash. And you literally just fucking said, oh yeah, 300 is definitely possible, and in the bag this year. And I'm giving you half the number, right? I'm taking 40 off of your 100. So yeah, this is hash rate growth. I think shocked everybody, even in the bull run. I'm sorry, even in the bear run for the big players too. When your income, when you're getting that million sats a day, and it goes to a million sats a week payout, and then now you're getting a million sats, every 11 days or something. That's painful.
Yeah.
Well, just the last difficulty adjustment, like what, roughly 10, 12% hit. I forget the exact number, but
it was high. Somewhere between 9, 10%.
Yeah, I think it was around 9. And yeah, I mean, mining, at the end of the day, mining humbles people. Like, it's a fucking ruthless business. And if you're not ready to be involved in a ruthless business, then just be in a different business. It's okay. Like, not everybody has to be a miner. I mean, it's, it's not for everybody. In fact, I'm not even sure it's for me, and I'm pretty sure I've thought about this somewhere in the ballpark of 50 to 100 times more than most of my peers, and I'm not even sure it's for me. So, like, I'm damn sure that these people aren't sure it's for them.
And the reason one of the reasons I think it's so difficult to navigate is because your alternative is arguably the greatest investment in the history of humanity, and it's just like sitting there. Dead fucking simple. That's like, even if you want to do no KYC, walk up to a Bitcoin ATM with some cash and get a little bit of the greatest investment humanity's ever seen. And that's, I don't know, like I don't know. Even like, especially when the home mining stuff really started taking off, like I was trying as much as possible to beat the drum of don't do collateralized bullshit. Like, make sure it's a minor trivial allocation. Like, don't sink 50% of your sats into mining. Like, all that kind of, I don't know, like sensible stuff.
And I mean, look, I wouldn't even, I've heard you say this a bunch. That like, you should only put a negligible percentage of your stack on mining. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying, like, if you're not preparing for the worst, the likelihood that you get wrecked is fairly high. Like, if you are actually preparing for the worst case scenario and the numbers still make sense, by all means, sink your whole fucking stack into mining. But something tells me that most people are not doing that. Most people are not operating under the assumption that we hit 400 exahash this year. Again, I hope we don't. It'd be dope. I'll make a lot more fucking sats than I expect to make this year if we don't. But I'm prepared to. And in that context, my mining operation still makes sense. But I don't think most people can say the same.
Yeah.
I got a 1 sat donation, so that's how I know Zorn's here.
That one we'll just have to give the whole thing to the meme developers.
Yeah. Zorn, half the donations tonight are going to open source meme development.
But in the event of a tie, we round up to meme developers. So. Yeah. What were you going to say, Max?
I can't remember. Oh, you can split it up with millisats, but technically millisats aren't real sats. But that's for a nuanced topic at a later day.
Don't tell John Carvalho.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly why.
Can blue wall.
That's just a fun joke. I really, really, really like John Carvalho.
I was gonna say, yeah. You want a trigger, just be like, yeah. You can split up a set to like 1,000 different ones. You're like, oh god.
Speaking of John, what's going on with Synonym?
I haven't seen any updates. I haven't looked for any updates either, but I haven't seen any updates since the adopting Bitcoin presentation. I have not kept up with it.
I talked to him earlier. I can't remember if it was earlier this month or in December. And then he sent me a couple stuff. I haven't looked at it yet, but I think they should be getting he said they're gonna maybe have a beta out for you to start using stuff, maybe in February or March. So that would kind of be that 3-4 month time frame. So, yeah, I haven't heard much besides getting the release date out.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there's so much you can do with the Lightning Network.
Yeah.
That's going to be incredibly powerful and move people away because it's just so seamless. You can integrate it so seamlessly into the internet. And it just makes way more sense. Like, Patreon should be gone today, and all those like platforms like that. I don't know why content creators accept donations via like super chats and stuff like that on YouTube anymore, because Lightning is just so much better, and it's just a matter of time before somebody like Zebedee comes out and creates like the bells and whistles that go on screen and trigger animations and stuff, and then I think it's game over.
Yeah.
What's that one that you were telling me about, Max? I couldn't get to work.
Which one? The the Lightning token stuff? Or
no, the Lightning app for streamers.
Oh, it's the Ellen Bits extension.
Was it Zion?
Dreamer?
Ellen Bits.
Oh, Ellen Bits.
Is it Ellen Bits, the streamer pilot? Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can basically, okay, you guys are on YouTube right now. You basically have a little QR code at the bottom every time somebody would make a payment of that Ellen URL. Pay, depending on the denomination, maybe 100 sats got a thumbs up, maybe 1,000 sats got a rocket ship. Goes across the screen. Did you ever get that to work on this feed or no?
It doesn't work for what I do because I use a bunch of different camera angles in the stream, and you put your camera through their browser extension thing and then into OBS, and it just wouldn't work that way for me.
Oh, okay.
Because I need...
So it's kind of like what we...
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what we thought before. You're just going to end up putting like a Bolt 12 up or something like that, and maybe have an animate something to have.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Zebedee to launch their streamer tool, but I use their app or their Lightning QR because one of my good buddies works at Zebedee. I like supporting those guys.
Shout out
to
Santos.
Zebedee. Yes. Okay.
I like the Bitcoin gaming stuff, but I don't play video games. I'm so bad at it. I downloaded CS:GO and was playing it. It was such a miserable experience for me because I was so shitty. But
So I always tell people growing up, pretty much my mom's only rule was video games are stupid. And so like, wait, I think we got a PlayStation 2 when I was like 17 or something. I forget exactly. But so I just grew up never playing video games. And then by the time we got one, I didn't really care about it. So they never really did anything for me. But that was like pretty much her only rule. So I never really, never seemed like a big deal.
yeah.
I'm hoping my son is like that.
Mine are split right now. I have my older son. He talks about how, because we talk about, we say in a couple of years we're going to buy land or whatever. So we're always talking about what are we looking for, what do we want, that kind of thing. And he's like, I want trees. And then like a month ago, he said, do I have to get a cell phone someday? And I said, no, absolutely not. You shouldn't get one if you don't want one. And so lately he's been on a kick. He's like, yeah, I don't want a phone. I want to live out in the woods, blah, blah, blah. But it's definitely not anything I can take credit for because his younger brother's complete opposite. So it's kind of some kids go one way, some go the other.
I was about to give you Dad of the Year award, but then it said you only have a 50% success rate, so we'll give you half the trophy.
Yeah, and neither one of them, it's not like they're on the tablet at the restaurant or anything horrific like that. But yeah, the younger one, he sure likes games and stuff for sure.
That's fun.
So Lurk just sent the tweet about the USB miners. And it's like a whole USB miner rig. There's like 9 of them in 3 separate powered USB ports. So pretty
yeah,
insane.
shout out to the 2 solo miners that won the block a couple weeks ago. Was it last week or 2 weeks?
It's pretty recently, yeah.
Last week?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to start wrapping up. We had a dope meetup in Tucson on Saturday talking about mining. And it was pretty funny that I got Kaboom Racks to give me a miner or an S9 to give away, and then I proceeded to tell everybody not to buy miners. But yeah, I'm totally in line with your thinking right now, Ephesians. Let's see. We got
Gilbert tomorrow.
Yep.
If anybody's in Phoenix.
Yeah.
The Gilbert meetups tomorrow.
Hopefully Arizona Huddle will be there.
Yeah.
We'll get
I don't think I'll be able to make it. I don't think I'll be at that one.
Well, you will be in spirit because me, you, and Arizona Huddle are all the same person.
That's true. Yeah, Ephesians recently was complimenting me on how good I am at switching voices, being able to do both Tucson Bitcoin and Skeef on Toxic Airwaves.
Well, we actually pre-record this entire show and then use TA on-chain metrics to predict all the conversation that we have in spaces and as well as the chat. So
honestly, what I thought was impressive, Steve, wasn't actually just the being able to do the different voices, but it was actually more the video thing. Although one thing I've noticed you fucked up about is you didn't get Tucson's glasses quite right. So I assumed that you were going for the David Koresh glasses with both of your characters, and you got it on yours, but Tucson characters' glasses aren't like quite right.
AI is magical.
Got to pay tribute to the Saint of Waco.
Animations come a long way. Real Engine 4 or whatever. That's how we do it.
Yeah.
Can't even tell.
But it's really like the critical thing. I didn't know you were going to give away our secret sauce, but it really is the on-chain TA metrics that help us predict everything. That's how we get everything lined up so perfectly.
Yeah. That's how British Hodl does it in spaces sometimes. Sometimes he just doesn't feel like actually engaging, so he just uses his AI bot to answer questions.
Yeah, we pay about $10K a month to Will Clementine for consulting services, but it's worth it.
It's much more productive than going out and buying a new gen miner for 38 million sats right now. But yeah, I'm trying to think
what else. Scottsdale a week from tomorrow, but
yeah, I announced
not just the regular meetups, right?
I announced the Chamber Satoshi and School Nakamoto a couple days before the official announcement, so that was kind of funny. I thought they'd already announced it, but those guys.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah, we've got some pretty cool things lined up. We have we're really trying to roll on getting Azteco terminals rolled out across the state, and we made some progress this week with that, which I'm pretty excited about because there is no reason why. Somebody commented about the sound right at the end. Damn it. I got to figure that out. I got to fix my levels on here. I meant to do that this week. But there is no reason why somebody should be having to use an exchange and not be able to go into a bar or a store and buy non-KYC sats for cash and not get raped by fees at the ATMs. And Azteco is great. And it's just so cool to be able to walk into, a business and not just be like, you can accept Bitcoin, but you can also sell Bitcoin. You can do simultaneously and make money off of it as a business.
And people who have no idea your store exists will come here to buy Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, those Taco terminals they track people from all over. So super, super dope and exciting on that. But yeah, we got big things coming in Arizona. I'm really bullish on the meetup scene and what everybody's doing and the energy put forth. But yeah,
I'm stoked for you guys for the Azteco, in person at either bodegas or restaurants or whatever, because that's kind of the secret sauce, right? You get them in the door, and then they buy the candy bar, and they come in and have a beer or whatever. You get 5% non-KYC. You can't beat it.
Yeah, is that on these Azteco terminals? Is 5% the fee all in?
So you can actually pick. You pick what you want. You can charge between 3 to 5% for the voucher. Azteco takes 2% for the actual order. The vendor or the sub-vendor, depends on, they split the 3%. Either if it's a vendor, then Azteco's 2, you get 3, total of 5. You can choose to give your commission basically to the purchaser. So if you want to only charge them 2%, and you give them the 3, you can. It's a little more enticing, for competition's sake, but
are you able to do that in Azteco, set your fee to 0, or do you have to send those sats separately?
All right, yeah. So now you kind of get into the slight nuance of the shitty Azteco workflow. So technically, say I want to buy an Azteco voucher for $100. I deposit 100 fiat into my account. Automatically, Azteco gives me the 3% up front. So basically, I make 3% every time that I deposit $1 into Azteco. So
gotcha.
Whenever you hand me a $100 bill or something, at that point I can choose to either give you $98 or $95.
So as long as it's not a separate transaction, then I think that works fantastic.
Exactly.
The only problem. So it's $98 worth of sats. It's not 95 and 3.
Yes, yeah, and then
okay.
And then you have to include on if you choose on chain, then you would have a on chain transaction as well. Pay whatever fees. Again, minuscule at that point. But Lightning again, instant But the reason why I say that is because it's a pain in the ass. You know, I've been a vendor and stuff. Trying to figure out the workflow between vendor and sub-vendor and getting the fiat into the account and therefore making a proper record of all that. Azteco doesn't really lay out. It's a very simple, like PHP spreadsheet or something on the back. It's way too simple. I could probably build it, and that's extremely embarrassing to say something. So there's no way to identify that on this $100 deposit you made 3%, or you know, this person, you know, purchased, you know, two vouchers, and one was on chain, one was light. It's just kind of like a bulk, you know, each voucher that goes out. So
yeah, well, and because I asked, because that would be my only concern, as long as it all comes, because I'm thinking like a lot of coffee shops would, you know, because like I would think would be willing to do it at break even, because 1 out of 3 people is going to buy a coffee while they're in there or something like that. Yep. You know, even if it's 1 out of 10, you know.
Yeah, it brings people in the door, right? You put the Bitcoin sticker up there, and it's a very easy workflow for the Bartista. You know, hey, I'd like Bitcoin. They hand them a $20 bill. You already have 20 in the account, obviously, and you type that in. You've already negotiated with your manager what the fee is, whether it's free or you're charging them a full 5%, or you could charge them more, right? You charge them 100%, but it's not very intuitive, or even any options to identify on Azteco's vendor section on the site. But on the front end, you walk into the coffee shop, hand them a $10 bill. You know, the accounting is very simple, but it's just a voucher. It's a lot more challenging to see who gets what, you know, commission where. That's more a personal ledger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the business can do things like, there's a business up in Phoenix that does this, where they on Thursdays get 50% off tacos if the people use Bitcoin. It's so easy to run promotions like that. And then if you have an Azteco terminal and people just randomly wander in, they're like, how do I pay with Bitcoin? It's like, here, buy some, and then you pay me. So,
yeah,
super smart.
Yeah. Definitely a way to use it. Well, I'm stoked for you guys. Definitely let me know how it goes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I'll keep the spaces up and running, but I'm going to end the stream. Thanks to all the people in chat that showed up tonight, and people in spaces, as always. Good to have you back, Don. Good to see Zorn lurk. Thanks for joining, Mark. The AK. Good to have you, AK. I don't think... Do we have anything else, or is that it?
Nothing for me.
Alrighty.
All right. We'll see you.